Welcome to the Phil Steele Plus tour for the national championship game as well as the first round of wild card playoffs. 6 big playoff games. I'll break one of them down for you here on today's tape. I got to tell you guys, I'm just thankful we're here at a national championship game this year, going through what we did back in June and July. Major questions whether football would be played this year. We not only played the football season, we've got 27, 28 bowl games were put in. And here we are at the national championship game. We will have a true national champ, and I'll break down the game for you in just a minute. So it was a very, very thankful that we got through the entire season. Another thing I'm very thankful for, and I'll mention it to you real quick, right here. You know, when I put out the magazine, we pour 6 months plus, over 6 months worth of work into the magazine each and every year. My main goal is to be the most accurate magazine out there. Now, we had Texas A&M, the number one surprise team. A surprise team is a non-top 10 team that I think can contend for a playoff spot. 4 teams that made the playoffs were all in the top 10 at the start of the year. The only one that was in contention that wasn't in the top 10, Texas A&M, my number one surprise team. Top 2 most improved teams, how about Miami of Florida, Northwestern? We also had North Carolina State up there. Great year for that. And then this right here. Chris Stassen, who does the accuracy ratings, and there's no Chris Stassen does not put any personal input into it. It's like golf. It's all based on a score. If you pick a team to finish second in their conference and they finish fourth, you're awarded 2 points. If you pick a team second and they finish second, you get 0 points and low score wins. Well, this year we not only won the conference prediction accuracy, but as Chris points out, we topped the list by a wide margin. We're further ahead of the number 2 team than the number 2 magazine was ahead of the bottom team. Here they are right here. Take a look at it. Phil Steele with 160.1 points, 21 points ahead of the Sporting News. The Sporting News was only 15 points ahead of the team that finished at the bottom, or of the magazine that finished at the bottom. So very pleased, very proud of this. I wanted to point it out to you, and it is my main goal each year is to win the conference prediction accuracy, and we did just that. Follow me on Twitter at PhilSteele042. When you do, I got all kinds of great updates there for you. Talked about the awards, who gets the All-American teams, players that are opting out. Everything is up there. That's at PhilSteele042. All right, let's get to the Ohio State-Alabama matchup for this week. It's a national championship game, guys. And one thing I warn every year, whether it be the Super Bowl or the national championship game, is don't put your biggest bet of the year on it. The line's as sharp as it can be. I mean, look at the total. I know as soon as last week's games finished and both totals were at 66, I was like, oh, I love the over. Well, the total's 75. Naturally, Vegas knew everybody liked the over, and the total's up there. The side play, how do you go against an Alabama team that has been dominant all year, and how do you go against an Ohio State team that's 11-0 as an underdog at 3+ points since 2009? So let's break that down. Let's show you that. Now, when you sign up to Phil Steele Plus, and let me show you this real quick, because I'll forget. I always forget to give you your discounts and your specials, so I'll go ahead and get out of the way now. PressBox is 37-26, 59% the last 14 issues on the best bets. The bowl selections, where the best bets went 5-3, but the overall bowl selections went 16-6, 73%. So it was a great season for the bowl selections. If you want to get inside the press box through the Super Bowl, the current price is $69. You get all 4 weeks of the NFL playoffs for just $49. Type in the code word New Year. And once again, for that, you just go to the Phil Steele store right here. Here's the NFL edition. Or here's the postseason one. You see it's $49 right now. When you click here to order the postseason, when you click there, you just go ahead and type in the box New Year, and you'll get the discount from $69 down to $49 for the NFL for the rest of the playoffs. Get Phil Steele Plus through the Super Bowl. If you want Phil Steele Plus, I think that's what I just clicked on. That was Phil Steele Plus. That's $49. You get it for just $29 if you type in the code word presents. That takes you all the way through the Super Bowl. You'll get access to the Phil Steele Plus site, which the purpose of this, I want to give you a tour, make sure you use the site to its best ability. And then also, of course, let me just get over here to Alabama. So you use the site to the best ability and get all the information at your fingertips. All right, so let's get to the Ohio State-Alabama game. And one of the things on the site right now is the last 40 years' results. And let's go back to 2009. Now, I threw out a stat to you. It said Ohio State's 11-0 as an underdog at 3+ points since 2009. And let's verify that. Here's 2009, 7-point dog against USC. They covered. 5-point dog against Penn State. They covered. That's 2-0. 4-point dog against Oregon in the national championship game. They covered. That is a perfect 3-0 so far. So 2010, let's see what we got here. I've got none. 2011, we're looking for a dog at 3 points or more. You see, they were a dog, but only 2.5 here. So that doesn't count. Here's 10. So that's 4-0. This is 5-0. Wow, they were an underdog 3 straight weeks. That is 6-0. That is 7-0 with the win over Michigan here. 7-0. Let's keep it rolling. I might even have shortchanged them 1 or 2 here. We're looking for +3 or more. We got 7-0 so far. Looking for +3-0. He's following the cursor along there. There's +4. 8-0. They upset Michigan State. 9-0. They upset Alabama. 10-0. They upset Oregon. So it's rare when they're a 3-point dog or more. 3 points, 3 points, 3-point dog or more, 3-point dog or more. We're 10-0 right now. 10-0, 10-0, 10-0. I'm not seeing any there. Now, these are smaller. Todd's going to get the point size corrected. They'll have all those updated for 2018, 2019 pretty soon. Here's 4. That's 11-0 against Michigan. Remember, they were a dog there. And 4-0. And, of course, the Clemson game, make that 12-0. So they're 12-0 against the spread. I forgot to include the Clemson game when they're a dog of 3 or more. So 12-0 is an underdog of 3 or more. You got to love that. So that's a nice little plus sign for Ohio State. Of course, they're question marks. And when you get to a national championship game, guys, I said the line's sharp. I mean, Justin Fields hurt his ribs last week. Will he be able to play all game? Well, he showed last week he can tough it out and play, and not only play, but he had 22 at 28 for 385 yards. If he's in there all game, I like Ohio State's chances, definitely. But Alabama, of course, may have the best team in the country. And if you look at the average game grades, they're playing to a 126.4 level. Ohio State's number 2 at 122.1. So they actually are pretty close there. The average game grades would lean with Ohio State as well. So you've got the average game grades leaning with Ohio State, the underdog leaning with Ohio State. The question mark would be, look at Ohio State's defense here. They gave up 491 yards passing to Indiana. Clemson, they gave up 400. In fact, if you go to my homepage and we click over here under the FBS info, we're going to click on pass efficiency defense, and we could see that where's Alabama ranked? Alabama's number 10 in pass efficiency defense, and Ohio State is way, way down here. I believe they're in the 80s, 73. They're allowing 67%, but only 9 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. But it also takes into account the opponents you played. And if you look at Ohio State, they haven't played a lot of great quarterbacks this year until, of course, they played Trevor Lawrence last week. Now, the difference with Trevor Lawrence is Trevor Lawrence protected by an average offensive line. Ohio State got a lot of pressure on him. Alabama is protected by the Joe Moore award-winning offensive line, the best offensive line in the country this year. They probably won't be able to exert that same amount of pressure that they did on Trevor Lawrence last week. The other quarterbacks they played, Northwestern, average quarterback. Michigan State, average quarterback. Indiana had a good quarterback, Michael Penix, 491. Rutgers, average quarterback. Penn State threw for 281, and Nebraska, 160. Taking a look at the game itself, like I said, the line's sharp. You got to favor Alabama. You'd think they should win, but I'm sort of leaning with Ohio State with the underdog record, the fact that the average game grades has these two teams pretty close. And then, of course, for the total, you have to think over, right? Because if you look at Alabama, they've played 2 explosive offenses this year. Mississippi, 48 points they gave up. Florida, they gave up 46 points. Look at the red numbers out here. 379 yards passing, 408, 647 yards, 462. Ohio State's got a pretty potent offense. And if you look at the player stats, you see that, and this right there, you just click on player stats, you get them. Look at Trey Sermon. Now, he had played at Oklahoma last year. Let's go take a look at his Oklahoma stats. They're available. We just find them. It's all this stuff's at your fingertips each and every week. So let's go to Oklahoma. Let's go to 2019 individual player stats. Trey Sermon, 91, 56, 51, 76, 71, 17, 9, 14, and then he missed the rest of the year with injury. Didn't even have a 100-yard game last year, though. So coming in, did you really expect Trey Sermon to be a dominant running back? 2 years ago, how many 100-yard games did he have? Here's 119, 110. There's 206 and a 124. So he had 400-yard games in 18, 100-yard games in 19. And now he comes here to Ohio State. And this is available on every team page. You go down the team page. You can click on individual player stats back in 2016 if you want. There they are, game by game, broken down, all at your fingertips each and every week. But let's get back to Ohio State because they're the team playing in the game, not Oklahoma. I always put the home team on the right and the visitor on the left, but in this case, there is no home team. So we're just going to put Ohio State on the left this week. And by the way, if you want to see how the team history is done, you just click on the team name. So let's click on the Alabama name, and here's what they've done. In the last 23 years, they've met once. Ohio State won that game 42-35. The other meetings were prior to the 23 years, according to that. And the same thing here. Click on Alabama, Ohio State. Takes you back to 2014, or 23 years. There were some meetings prior to that meeting. I think Alabama won all three. Once again, if you click on last 40 years results, go back here. I know they played once in a season opening game, and I believe Alabama won that 16-10. There it is, back in 1986. And I believe they played in a bowl game during the Woody Hayes tenure, but we only take you back to 76 on that. Looking for bowl games right there. Every single bowl game. There it is, the Citrus Bowl. They were a 3.5-point dog and lost 24-17 in 1994. So those would be your recent meetings. I think they met once with Woody Hayes against Bear Bryant in the Sugar Bowl, but we don't go back that far in our records. But it takes you all the way back. Like I said, these 40 years results take you back to 1976. You got the spread in every single game since 76, and here you've got halftime since 2004. And you may not be old enough to remember, but they didn't used to have totals back in the 90s. They started putting totals up back in the later 1990s. And when they finally put totals on every game, we started covering them right here. 2004, 2003 was the year they started putting totals on every game. We've got them listed. So if you want a total back to 2003, you want a line back to 1976, it's at your fingertips. And that's on every team. You know, I could take you here to the FBS team pages, and we could take a look at a team like Ohio University and click on their last 40 years results, and that takes you back to 88. A lot of their games weren't lined, so that's why it was. And then, as you see, they started to line the games in 90, and we track all that. I've wrote down the lines on every single game since we started way back in 1982, and we had lines even before that. So just to give you an idea of what's available on the site. But come back to this game. So you've got an Alabama team that can give up points to an explosive offense. You got an Ohio State team that is an explosive offense. You got an Ohio State defense that gives up passing yards. Devontae Smith, and oh, by the way, they may get Jalen Waddle back. Now, how big is that? Let's take a look at the individual player stats. Did you know after 4 games this year, Jalen Waddle was their number 1 receiver? That's rushing. Let's go look here. Waddle had 134, 142, 120, 161. He was their leading receiver. He was the Heisman candidate. Devontae Smith was the number 2 receiver on the team. And yet, they may get Waddle back for this one as well. That's another reason that I think if you're looking for an official play here for the Phil Steele Plus Tour, we're going to go with the over in this one. It's over 75, very high total. Once again, your best bet's not in a national championship game. It's not in a Super Bowl. It's when you got 49 games to choose from. We had a really good bowl season going 16-6. So my Phil Steele Plus play right here, right now, we're going to go with the over 75 as your Phil Steele Plus Tour selection for today. Now let's go to the NFL and see what we got there. Is there anything else I want to show you on the college? A couple other things about the college. You want to see the start charts? We'll have all these updated for you. Todd's just got to get them logged in, but it tells you who started, and we're going to have these color-coded in red to show you the starts lost. And there's a one in the magazine where we list each year the starts lost. You can get that right here on the site. In fact, let's go back to 2019 start chart. These are the players that lost a game due to injury or suspension or anything. Tells you out here what happened. So they lost 14 starts last year, Ohio State did. How they do the previous year, 2018. We should have that on the star chart. There it is. That year they lost 16 starts to injury. Very handy reference guide if you want to know how banged up a team was during the course of the year. And it's at your fingertips all season long when you sign up to Phil Steele Plus. All right, let's go take a look at the NFL. And before I go to the NFL, guys, we're running out of time this football season. But I do want to let you know we got a full football season coming up, the FCS. And guess what? If you're looking for FCS information, it's hard to find. Nobody's got FCS information out there. Well, guess what? With Phil Steele Plus, you will. Take a team like North Dakota State. You can take back North Dakota State and take a look at all their records all the way back to 2010. How about that? Color-coded green and red since 2011. And we started putting individual stats up in 2018. There you are. Every stat for every player in 2018, 2019. Heck, they even played a game this year, 2020. Trey Lance played just to get his NFL stock boosted up. Only hit 15 of 30 for 149 in the game, but had a good game. This is every single FCS team is covered like this. So let's say North Dakota State is playing South Dakota State. You want to see how they've done in the past? Well, they beat South Dakota State, but only by 7 this year. That's interesting. They only beat South Dakota State by 4 this year. They lost to South Dakota State this year. They lost to South Dakota State this year. So the last 4 years, they haven't beaten South Dakota State by more than 7. If you see the line on that thing is North Dakota State minus 14, like a typical North Dakota State team, you could go back and you'll have all that right at your fingertips. More on that later, but the FCS, it will be available when FCS season starts. Let's go to the NFL. It's playoff time. And if you do sign up, as mentioned, with that Phil Steele Plus package, $29 if you mention the code word presence, you'll have access to all the NFL all the way through the Super Bowl. Let's take a look at one matchup this week. Seattle is at home, and the Rams are on the road. So let's take a look at that matchup this week. And you have the Rams on the left, Seattle on the right. Now, naturally, when we're looking at these two teams, one thing that pops out to me, you would think the Rams have the best defense in the NFL. I mean, 282 yards per game. Their only opponents is 74 yards per game below their season average. And the beautiful thing about Phil Steele Plus, which is different than the magazine, is we can color code things in green and red. If we did them green and red in the magazine, they wouldn't really stand out as much and wouldn't be as easy to look at. And in fact, it would make it tougher to see the numbers. But you can put it color-coded green and red right here. As you can see, there's a whole lot of green on this Rams defense. They have the best defense in the NFL. 53 sacks. They allow 91 yards. They hold opponents to 74 yards below their season average. Now, you look at Seattle, you see a whole bunch of red on this defense. I mean, a lot of red over here. Look at all that. They didn't have a good defense at the start of the year. Seattle games were very high scoring. 38-25, 35-30, 38-31. Look at all those high scores. 37-34, 37-28. Something's changed. Look at their recent numbers. Their defense allowed 17, 17, 3, 15, 9, and 23. In fact, in the last 4 weeks, and that's right down here, you see the last 4 weeks line? Last 4 weeks, they have allowed 13 points per game. They're holding opponents to 39 yards per game, below their season average. Look at this, 185, 353. So all of a sudden, Seattle playing defense these last 7 weeks. Rams been playing defense all year. Now, Jared Goff didn't play last week. Let's see if the individual stats are up. They are not for the Arizona game, but they had to start a backup quarterback in Wolford last week. The stats are up here. Wolford got his first start and played, and they put up 18 points on Arizona. 7 of those was, I believe, an interception return for a touchdown. I'd click on the box score and show you, but I can't really do that. So anyway, you've got two defenses playing extremely well. The Seattle offense has been slowed down, 12, 20, 20, 26, and they're taking on the best defense. And how have these two teams done so far this year? Well, the Rams won the first game 23-16, which would be under the total of 42.5. And the Rams lost the second game 20-9. That's only 29 points in that game. Once again, very low yardage for both teams. Low yards, low points. The total is 42.5, which actually surprises me a little. I thought it was going to be something like 38. So that's why I like the under 42.5 in this game. I think you got two teams where the defenses are playing great. In their two meetings, they've both been unders. And that's how we're going to wrap that one up for Seattle against the Rams. We are going to go with under 42.5 as your Phil Steele Plus play. Once again, I'm just very thankful we played football this year. I'm thankful we got 4 rounds of playoffs coming up for the NFL. Take advantage of your discounts. I'll be back with you next week. I'll have another Phil Steele Plus tour with selections for you. And as always, Happy New Year to you. It's the first time I've talked to you in 2021, and I'll be back next week. Thanks for watching and taking the Phil Steele Plus tour with selections.